Do you know the difference between a round shader and a round liner? That's something I wondered about a lot when I first started tattooing. And now that I have some experience, let's check it out. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Like the intro stated, we're going to go over the differences between a round shader and a round liner. And before we get started today, I did want to say thank you to everyone who has watched my videos, who have liked them and subscribed. It means a lot to me. So thank you very much. And without further ado, we're going to get this video started. And the first one up is the round shader. So let's get it. So first up, we are pulling a line with a standard 5 round shader. I personally feel like lining with a shader is a controversial subject amongst the tattooing community. There are a lot of seasoned tattoo artists out there who heavily frown upon the use of a shader for lining and strictly live by the code of using a round liner instead. The biggest advantages of using a round shader is that you can pull thicker lines since the grouping of needles don't come to a point, like a liner does. Here's a comparison to show you what I'm talking about. Notice how the shader has the same number of needles, but they're protruding straight out rather than being welded to a point. And from what I understand, shaders are preferred because you get that nice thick line, but they do have a tendency to streak if not utilized correctly. From my experience, it is best when I pull a shader line as close to a 90-degree angle as possible, so all the needles penetrate at the same time and depth. You will notice when practicing with shaders that if you angle the cartridge down to a 70-degree angle, that the line being pulled won't be as consistent. Shaders can also leave undone areas in their wake since the needle grouping is spread apart, so be cognizant of that possibility. Also, be aware that ink deposits quickly with shaders, so make sure you are dipping your cartridge in every time you lift your machine from the line. Now, I'm not pulling the best of lines in tattooing history, but you can definitely see that the lines are bold and thick, and that's what you want with these shaders, and that's what they're good for. We are just about to wrap up the shader portion, so let's dive right into the liners next. Now here is the liner, and you can see right off the bat that the lines being pulled are a lot thinner and tight. They are a little more difficult to master lines with, especially the smaller the diameter. The smaller you go, the more you'll be challenged in seeing every imperfection. Many factors can go into squiggly lines, and having a smaller needle grouping without enough practice will quite possibly show more than not. I digress though. I personally prefer using shaders for my outlines, and then I like to switch to liners for the details within the tattoos. You can get a nice balance throughout the tattoo with varying line weights that way. That's not to say liners can't produce great tattoos, it's just my preference, depending on the design that is. With liners, you can angle them in many directions and still pull pretty nice lines. There are a ton of debates about proper angle and which way the cartridge should be facing while you pull lines, but I feel like liners are a bit more diverse with how you can use them as opposed to a shader. Oh, and as a side note, this is my first time using Reelskin brand of fake skin, and I am in love. I used Pound of Flesh mostly before, but I have to say I'm a huge believer of Reelskin now. It felt great, it stretched nicely, and the machine worked well on it. And as we finish up with the liner portion, I will display how the results came out of the rows and the lines. Overall, I hope this made sense and was at least informative to anyone who was curious. If you have any more questions for me, drop them down below and I will respond. And if you haven't already, please like, comment, and subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. Thank you guys.